I refurbished this rusty vintage block plane that I got from a garage sale for $5. I took some photos before disassembling because I do not know hand planes well enough to put this thing back together without reference photos. Once I got all my pieces laid out, it was time to tackle rust and paint removal. I put the painted pieces in a plastic bag with some leftover paint remover that I had and used some rust dissolver gel on some of the other pieces. I didn't have Brasso, so I used some Barkeeper's Friend that I normally use on my stovetop, and it worked beautifully. Check out that before. I used the Barkeeper's Friend on a couple other pieces, and it looks like the rust dissolver did its job. But unfortunately, it looks like the paint remover didn't really do much. So I headed to the hardware store and picked up some different paint remover in a small bucket, and I really globbed this stuff on. Next, it was time to move on to the blade. I glued some sandpaper to a flat board and started on the back of the blade, making sure it was flat. Considering the condition of this thing, the back of the blade was already pretty flat. I then moved on to sharpening the blade. I used the Cat Moses sharpening guide, and I have to say, this thing is 10 out of 10 for beginners to sharpening. I had gotten most of the paint and rust off the body and the frog, so I taped off the parts I didn't want to be painted, trimming any excess tape and plugging the screw holes. I really like these Rust-Oleum spray cans that have the adjustable nozzles. You can do super light coats or heavy coats, depending on what you're working on. I let that cure overnight and had the satisfying peel off of the tape for my first look at the almost finished plane. The last thing I needed to do was a final sanding to remove any surface rust and get the bottom flat. And she looks beautiful. But does she cut? You know, not perfect, but she cuts. And just like that, I'm done. I'm super happy with how this came out. And a little reminder of how she started before.